The blaring sound of car horns pierced through the night, merging with the howling wind and the relentless downpour striking the windshield. The rain-slicked road shimmered under the glow of streetlights, and the driver's eyes reflected the blinding headlights of a sleek black sports car. In a fleeting moment, the vehicle lost control, its tires skidding wildly like a beast thrashing against the water, leaving behind a jagged trail of light in the darkness. Crash! The impact was deafening, like a thunderclap tearing through the night, shaking the very air itself. Glass shattered, sending shards flying like scattered bullets. The car's frame was flung toward the guardrail, spinning like a lifeless puppet before slamming into it with a final, devastating force. Then, silence. The world descended into chaos, the shrill screech of metal scraping asphalt, the agonized wail of twisting tires, and the distant screams of bystanders echoing through the rain. Inside the wrecked car, Jason Whitmore, a powerful and cold-hearted CEO of a global corporation, was now nothing more than an unmoving figure slumped in the driver's seat. The fabric of his expensive tailored suit was soaked in blood, seeping from the gash on his forehead. His jet-black hair, usually sleek and immaculate, was now damp and disheveled. His eyes were shut, his lips slightly parted, but no sound escaped. One trembling hand reached for the steering wheel, but his strength was gone. Darkness pulled him under. His consciousness flickered, the world around him slipping away into something distant and unfamiliar. The scent of smoke, gasoline, and blood mingled in the suffocating air. Jason's breaths grew shallow, yet his heart continued to beat, stubbornly resisting the creeping grasp of oblivion. The rain poured mercilessly, indifferent to the wreckage left in its wake. Panicked voices rang out in the night, muffled and far away, as if from another world. "Call an ambulance! Hurry!" A bystander hesitated, stepping closer but unable to bring themselves to touch the mangled wreck. Jason felt nothing. Only the pounding rain, the distant wail of police sirens, and the faint, weakening rhythm of his own breath in the suffocating silence of the car's interior. At the hospital, a sterile white glow filled the hospital room. The rhythmic beeping of the monitors echoed in the still air. Beep, beep, beep. A fragile reminder of life clinging on. Jason Whitmore's eyes fluttered open, his mind blank, his senses clouded by disorientation. As his vision cleared, he saw a woman standing beside his bed. Her eyes were bright, but behind them lurked an odd sense of unease. "Jason, it's me, Sophia, your fiancée." Her voice trembled with urgency, her hands shaking as they grasped his. But Jason only felt nothing. Fiancée? He looked at Sophia, searching his mind for a trace of recognition. But there was nothing. No images, no memories. She stood there, elegant, beautiful, yet utterly unfamiliar. Jason closed his eyes, trying to recall something. And then a name surfaced in his mind. Anna. His heart clenched. He couldn't remember exactly who she was, nor what had happened between them. But he remembered autumn afternoons with golden leaves falling. He remembered gentle embraces, warm smiles. He remembered the way she looked at him, with love and sincerity. The images were hazy yet vivid, as if Anna was the most important person in his life. So why wasn't she here? Why instead was Sophia the one standing beside him? Jason's confusion. Over the truth. He opened his eyes and looked at Sophia with a blank stare. "I don't remember you, but I remember someone named Anna. Who is she?" Sophia froze. Her grip on Jason's hand tightened, and for a brief moment, the perfect smile on her lips faltered. "Jason, you chose me. You promised to be with me forever." "What about Anna?" Jason repeated, his voice growing firmer. "Where was she? Why wasn't she here?" But Sophia didn't answer. She avoided his gaze, and Jason knew without a doubt that something was wrong. An overwhelming sense of uncertainty. It wasn't just Sophia. Jason's entire family was thrown into turmoil. They surrounded his hospital bed, their eyes filled with concern, but none of them knew what to say. His parents, who had once urged him to prioritize his career and viewed his engagement to Sophia as a crucial step, now stood frozen, unsure how to handle the situation. The room was enveloped in heavy silence. A doctor entered the room, checking Jason's vitals before speaking in a measured tone. Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore, Jason is physically stable, but he has suffered partial memory loss. Jason's family was stunned. His father quickly asked, "Will his memory return?" The doctor nodded, but his answer was far from reassuring. "It's possible, but not guaranteed. Sometimes memory loss creates a mental block, meaning Jason may only remember up until a significant event, while everything that happened afterward remains lost." Jason's family grew even more anxious. Jason had forgotten everything about Sophia. He only remembered the time when he loved Anna, the beautiful, pure memories. But Sophia, their engagement, and everything that followed were completely erased. Sophia stood by his side, anger simmering beneath her composed exterior. He only remembered Anna, the woman she had believed was buried in the past, and now that name was the only thing left in his mind. Jason looked around, his gaze distant yet filled with longing. "Where is Anna?" The room fell deathly silent. Jason continued scanning the faces around him, as if his heart instinctively knew that she was supposed to be there. "Where is she?" Sophia clenched her fists. She had hoped Anna was nothing more than a fading memory, that Jason had forgotten her, that the past would remain buried forever. But now Anna was the only thing he remembered. The realization shook her to her core. Sophia struggled to maintain her composure, her voice cold but tinged with frustration. "She's not here anymore." She stepped closer to his hospital bed, sitting down and taking his hand in hers, her voice unnaturally gentle. "Jason, I am the woman in your life now. We are engaged. Don't you remember?" She tried to sound calm, but the anger in her voice was impossible to hide. Jason stared directly into Sophia's eyes, but all he saw was an empty void. No emotions, no memories, no connection at all. Why did his heart only remember Anna? Why did the name Sophia fail to stir even the faintest recollection? Why, when he looked at her, did he feel nothing but unfamiliarity? Even though Sophia insisted they were engaged, to Jason it meant absolutely nothing. He felt as if a crucial piece was missing. Something wasn't right, and he needed to uncover the truth. Welcome to Soul Stories, Puker. Life can be overwhelming, but here we share heartfelt tales to bring you peace, joy, and inspiration. Your support, every comment, like, and follow, means the world to us. It motivates us to create more meaningful and uplifting stories just for you. Did our latest story touch your heart? Leave a yes in the comments if you agree. Subscribe now and be part of a community that spreads love, kindness, and positivity. Let's make every day a little brighter together. Jason's family and Sophia stood in silence in the hospital room, none of them daring to speak. The truth they had desperately tried to conceal could be exposed at any moment. His parents exchanged anxious glances, not only fearing that Jason would remember Anna, but also dreading what he might do if he uncovered the betrayal from the past. The thought of him experiencing that pain once again sent a shiver down their spines. Outside the window, the rain drizzled softly, blending into the suffocating atmosphere of the room. Jason sat on the hospital bed, his expression clouded with confusion. His memories were like shattered fragments, scattered beyond his reach. Yet one thing remained certain: he remembered Anna. Sophia clenched her fists, struggling to mask her growing unease. She couldn't lose Jason. She couldn't let him return to a past that should have remained buried. But why was his memory of Sophia completely blank? Why did both Sophia and his parents avoid his questions whenever he mentioned Anna? A deep sense of unease stirred within Jason. He wasn't a fool. There was something they were keeping from him, a truth that could change everything. That night in the hospital. The sterile hospital room was cold and uninviting. Jason lay awake, unable to sleep, staring at the dim glow of the bedside lamp. The rhythmic sound of rain outside was like a melancholic melody. The dull golden light cast faint shadows across his injuries, but the deeper pain came from something else, the feeling of betrayal by those closest to him. Slowly, Jason reached for his phone and typed in a name. Anna Carter. Nothing. It was as if she had never existed, but his instinct screamed otherwise. Anna was out there somewhere, and he had to find her at all costs. His fingers tightened around the phone, scrolling through endless search results. All he found were unrelated conference articles, news stories, business reports. Nothing about her. It was as if she had been erased from the world. A wave of unease washed over him. Where was Anna? How had she disappeared so completely? Jason refused to believe this was a coincidence. His grip on the phone tightened, frustration building within him. A fleeting urge to throw it across the room surged through him. But then, something inside held him back. His instincts whispered that Anna was still out there. Maybe she was no longer part of his life, but there was no way she had simply ceased to exist. And Jason knew that if he didn't find the truth, he would remain trapped in darkness forever. No matter the obstacles, no matter the lies, he wouldn't stop until he found Anna. It didn't matter if she had moved on. It didn't matter if she never forgave him. He had to find her. He closed his eyes and Anna's face surfaced in his mind. The warmth of her smile, the depth of her gaze, the precious moments they had shared. The memories were like a silent film playing before him, suffocating him with emotions he couldn't fully grasp. How had he lost her? How had he let her slip away? Jason knew one thing. He had to bring her back into his life. But the biggest question still haunted him. Why was everyone hiding Anna from him? Why were Sophia and his own family so desperate to erase her from his past? Each time he tried to recall more, his head throbbed with an unbearable pain. What Jason didn't know was that while he was searching for answers, Anna had long since left, carrying with her a shattered heart. She was no longer a part of his world. She had learned to survive in solitude, to live without him. But if he ever found her again, would there still be a place for him in her heart? Or was he already too late? Jason sat motionless on the hospital bed, his gaze empty, his mind shrouded in a dense fog. His past remained within reach, yet fragmented, like a film reel with crucial scenes cut away. He remembered Anna. He remembered the afternoons they wandered the streets together, the times he drove her home, the sweet kisses exchanged in the soft breeze. But why had she vanished from his life? Why, among all the things he had forgotten, was Anna the only person he could remember? He couldn't believe it. The only woman he had ever loved was no longer in his world. Where was she? A deep sense of unease stirred within him. A part of him refused to accept that Anna could have disappeared without a trace if she had loved him the way his faint memories suggested. Shouldn't she be here? Why, when he woke up, was Sophia the only one by his side? Jason didn't care about Sophia's protests. He ignored his family's anxious stares. He began his search for Anna. He scoured every available source. He searched for Anna Carter on social media. He called old friends, visited the places they used to go, but it was all in vain. Nothing. Anna had disappeared completely. Jason stood by the hospital window, staring out at the city lights twinkling against the dark sky. But the dazzling skyline couldn't ease the emptiness inside him. He couldn't explain this feeling. Even though his memories weren't whole, he knew there was a massive hole in his life. If she had truly loved him, there was no way she would have vanished like this. Why did she leave me? The question echoed in his mind, but there was no answer. All he knew was that every time he thought of Anna, his heart ached. If she really loved me, I will find her, Jason murmured, his eyes burning with determination. But Jason had no idea. Anna didn't leave because she didn't love him. She left because he had chosen a different path. Because he had abandoned her at the very moment she needed him most. But now all Jason had were his confusion and scattered memories. Not enough for him to truly understand what had happened. And then Jason made a decision. No matter what it took, no matter where she was, he would find her. After days of fruitless searching, Jason sat alone in his apartment, his exhausted eyes fixed on his laptop screen. The endless searches yielded nothing but disappointment. Anna Carter, it was as if she had never existed. But then, a small news article caught his eye. It wasn't a major feature, just a brief write-up about a handcrafted jewelry store in a seaside town, a place where tourists often visited to find exquisite, meticulously crafted pieces. Jason's finger instinctively scrolled down. He froze. His heart skipped a beat. A small jewelry boutique, a woman with a familiar silhouette, long, flowing hair, a delicate, graceful presence he could never forget. The photograph didn't clearly capture her face, but the way she tilted her head while speaking to a customer, the posture, the subtle elegance. It was her. The world stopped. Jason clenched his phone tightly, his eyes locked onto the image. Was it really her, or just a coincidence? But deep down, Jason already knew. This was Anna. He stared at the screen, his breath unsteady. If it's really her, why did she leave me? Will she even want to see me? Jason didn't hesitate for a single second. He booked a plane ticket immediately without a second thought. Nothing could stop him now. Even if he had to face a painful truth, even if Anna refused to see him, he had to find her. And this time, he wouldn't let her disappear from his life again. The small seaside town. The taxi came to a halt on a cobblestone street, the pavement still damp from last night's rain. Jason stepped out, his eyes scanning the scene before him. No towering skyscrapers, no dazzling city lights. This town was strangely peaceful. Narrow streets lined with quaint little shops, flower baskets swaying gently under wooden awnings, the scent of the ocean lingering in the crisp morning air. Everything about this place stood in stark contrast to the glamorous life he had once known. No blaring horns, no rush of the city, only the rhythmic sound of waves crashing against the shore in the distance. Jason walked slowly, his breath merging with the cool morning air. His heart was heavy, yet filled with anticipation. He didn't know what he was about to face. Was Anna really here? And if she was, would she even agree to see him? Every step brought him closer to the answer he had been searching for. After a few minutes, Jason stopped in front of a small shop tucked into the corner of the street. A wooden sign hung above the entrance, the engraved letters catching the soft morning light. Carter's Jewelry. His heart pounded. Carter. The name struck him like a blow to the chest. He lifted his gaze, looking through the large glass window of the store. Inside, surrounded by the warm glow of soft lighting and delicate jewelry displays, a familiar figure sat at a workbench, fully absorbed in her craft. She was carefully arranging tiny gemstones with a pair of tweezers, her hands moving with practiced precision, setting each stone into its delicate silver frame. Her long hair cascaded over her shoulders, her expression serene yet distant, as if she existed in a world far removed from those around her. It was Anna. She was as beautiful as he remembered, but something was different. Gone was the bright-eyed girl who once looked at him with unshakable hope. The Anna before him carried a quiet stillness, her eyes reflecting a depth of sorrow that hadn't been there before. She had changed. Jason felt his throat tighten. How had she lived all these years? He couldn't hold back any longer. Without another moment's hesitation, Jason pushed the door open. A soft chime rang out as the bell above the door signaled his entrance, breaking the silence inside the shop. Anna lifted her head slightly, and in that moment, the world stopped. Inside the quiet little store, Anna remained focused on her work, the warm glow of the shop lights casting a soft radiance over her. The gentle sound of tweezers clicking against gemstones filled the space, her movements precise, absorbed. The silence was so absolute that Jason could hear her steady breaths, the faint clink of metal against stone. She was just as meticulous as he remembered, lost in her craft with an intensity that shut out the world. Jason stood there, motionless, just watching her, as if time had frozen. His heart clenched. How had she lived without him? He finally spoke, his voice quiet yet filled with something unshakable. Anna. She froze. Everything around them seemed to halt. The tweezers in her hand stopped midair, her breath catching in her throat. That voice, how long had it been since she last heard it? Slowly she turned. Her eyes widened, and there, standing before her, was Jason Whitmore, the man who had once been her whole world. But instead of joy or shock, her expression shifted into something else entirely. Stunned disbelief, and then slowly, cold detachment. A heavy silence stretched between them. Jason felt his chest tighten. He had expected emotion. He had imagined countless possibilities. Maybe she would cry. Maybe she would run to him, demanding answers. Maybe she would be angry, but still let him explain. But no, she looked at him as if he were a stranger. No warmth, no flicker of recognition in her eyes. And then, without a word, she turned away. Jason stood frozen in place. "Anna, wait!" His voice broke the silence, and he took a hurried step toward her. But before he could reach her, Anna had disappeared through the small door at the back of the shop. His heart sank. Why was she running from him? After facing Anna at the jewelry shop, Jason could barely breathe. She had looked at him with unfamiliar eyes, empty, emotionless. And then she had run away. Not once did she turn back. The pain was unlike anything Jason had ever felt before. It wasn't like the sting of business failures. It wasn't like the pressure of leading a global corporation. It was deeper, sharper. Why had she reacted that way? Why had she looked at him as if he were a ghost from her worst nightmares? Jason clenched his fists, struggling to piece together fragments of the past. But the moment he tried to remember, a violent headache tore through his skull. He squeezed his temples, trying to hold on to something, anything, but all he found were scattered memories. His moments with Anna were crystal clear, but everything after that, why she had left, why they had separated, was an empty void. He needed answers. The next morning, Jason returned to the jewelry shop. He wouldn't let her run away again. Pushing the door open, he stepped inside. The shop was the same, warm, peaceful, but inside him, a storm raged. Anna was at her workbench, carefully handling gemstones, but Jason noticed it immediately. Her hands trembled. She knew he had come back. His heartbeat pounded in his ears, but this time, he wouldn't let her escape. "Anna," he said, his voice deep and rough. She froze. Slowly, she lifted her head and met his eyes. But her gaze was the same as yesterday, cold, distant. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was calm, but Jason could hear the tension beneath it. He took a deep breath, stepping forward. "Do you not want to see me?" Anna stiffened. Then she let out a sharp, bitter laugh. There was no joy in it, only resentment. "You dare ask me that?" Her voice was like a blade. "Are you pretending to forget, or did you come here just to torment me?" Jason froze. Her words struck him like a punch to the chest. "Oh, you forgot?" she scoffed. "Right. I almost forgot. You've always been good at acting like nothing happened." It felt like she was pushing him away, creating a chasm between them that he couldn't cross. What was she talking about? What had he done? Why was she speaking as if he had committed an unforgivable crime? He tried to make sense of it, but all he found was that terrifying void in his mind. Jason couldn't walk away now. He needed the truth. No matter how painful it was, he had to face it. The tension between them was suffocating. Anna turned away, her face unreadable. But even if she tried to hide it, the way her hands clenched into fists told him everything. She let out another laugh, this one hollow void of warmth. "And now you're here expecting me to welcome you?" Her voice was cold, every word slicing through him. Jason faltered, his heart hammering. He hadn't expected anything. He just wanted to understand. But then her next words shattered him completely. "You chose Sophia." Jason felt his entire body go still. Sophia. The name echoed in his mind, familiar yet distant. "You abandoned me, Jason," Anna said, her voice filled with a fire he had never seen before. "You left me for power, for ambition, for Sophia." Every word she spoke felt like a dagger plunging straight into his chest. The world blurred for a moment. Was it true? Had he really done that? He couldn't remember. All he knew was that he loved her, that Anna was the only thing left in the memories he still had. Then why was she saying that he had betrayed her for another woman? Jason staggered back, his heart twisting, not from the physical pain, but from something far worse. Even if his memory was lost, the emotions inside him remained. And what Anna had just said made his heart ache in a way he couldn't bear. His legs gave out, and he sank to his knees in front of her. His heart felt like it was shattering into pieces. He didn't know what to do, didn't know how to process this. Anna, I was wrong. His voice cracked. You are everything to me. I don't remember anything after I fell in love with you. After Sophia, but I know one thing. I love you. He reached for her hand, but Anna pulled away, as if he were a stranger. You only remember loving me? Her voice trembled with anger. You don't remember betraying me? Tears welled in her eyes, but she turned away before he could see them fall. Jason got to his feet, desperation flooding him. What had he done to her? I don't remember what happened after I loved you, but I know one thing. I love you more than anything, Anna. Jason's voice broke, but Anna shook her head and stepped past him, heading toward the door. Don't come back when it's already too late, Jason. She spoke over her shoulder without looking at him again. Then she walked out, her hands clenched tightly, holding back the tremor of her emotions. But deep inside, the old wounds began to bleed again. She didn't want to cry. She didn't want to be weak in front of Jason. She couldn't allow herself to be hurt again. But the moment the door shut behind her, a wave of emotions crashed over her chest. The memories she had tried so hard to bury came surging back. The day he left, her world collapsed. She had once thought he was her everything. She had loved him with all she had. And in return, he abandoned her, without a single explanation. In the days after Jason left, Anna lived like a shadow. She waited for his message. She hoped for a call, a reason, a sign that he still cared. But all she got was silence, a silence so cruel that it hurt more than the harshest goodbye. She had asked herself thousands of times, why didn't he come back? How could he leave me so easily? The questions had no answers, only silent tears on lonely nights. And then she saw him in the newspapers. Jason standing beside Sophia, his smile perfect, his eyes distant. The headlines were a dagger straight to her heart. Jason Whitmore officially engaged to Sophia Morgan, heiress of a prestigious family. Anna froze. So everything they had was just a lie? So the love she had believed in was nothing more than a fleeting illusion, easily replaced by wealth and power? So she had never truly mattered to him? No pain could compare to that. She had told herself to forget him, to move on. But her heart had remained trapped in the place where Jason had left her. And now he stood before her again, saying he didn't remember what had happened, saying he still loved her. But how could she ever believe him again? While Jason drowned in his own torment, Sophia already knew. From the moment he left the hospital and never returned to see her, she had suspected something was wrong. And when she found out that he was looking for Anna, Sophia's rage ignited like wildfire. She couldn't let Anna interfere. That afternoon, Sophia went to Anna's jewelry shop, her expression dark with fury. Who do you think you are? She spat, her voice dripping with venom. Do you think I'll let Jason come back to you? Anna met her gaze with a steady calm, showing no fear. You can't force me to do anything. He was mine before he ever belonged to you. He is my fiancé now. Sophia's voice was sharp, her anger barely contained. If you don't want me to destroy your life, you'd better stay away from him. I won't hesitate to do whatever it takes to protect what's mine. Anna held her ground, her eyes unwavering. I have no intention of fighting you for him. Her voice was steady. But if you think you can threaten me, you're wrong. After the emotional confrontation with Anna, Jason walked away like a man lost in a daze. He didn't remember how he had left the jewelry shop. All he knew was that, by the time he realized it, he was standing in front of his hotel, his legs heavy, his heart clenched in a suffocating grip. His mind was in chaos. Anna's words echoed relentlessly in his ears. You chose Sophia. You abandoned me. You betrayed me. Jason pressed his fingers against his temples, pain searing through his head. And then, faint, fragmented memories began to surface. The more he tried to remember, the more intense the pain became. The shattered pieces of his past slowly started forming a picture. The first day they met, Anna Carter had never been an ordinary woman. She was a talented jewelry designer, a woman who had poured her heart and soul into her craft. The small shop she owned now had once been nothing more than a humble workshop, something she had built from the ground up, through sheer determination. And Jason, he hadn't always been the ruthless CEO he was today. He had been a young entrepreneur, burning with ambition, determined to carve out his own empire. They met by chance, but they loved each other deeply. Anna never cared about wealth or status, the things other women had chased after when they were with Jason. She loved him for who he was, a man with fire in his eyes, with dreams, but also with sincerity. And Jason had loved Anna because, with her, he didn't have to prove anything. Their love had once been simple, pure. He remembered those days. Anna, always busy with her gemstones. Jason, buried in business plans. But no matter how demanding their lives became, they had always found time for each other. He could still see her sitting by the window, her eyes bright as she spoke about her dreams. He could still feel the quiet moments they had shared, hands intertwined, whispering about the future on empty streets late at night. He could still taste the softness of her lips, the warmth of her embrace. She had trusted him. She had given him her heart, her future. But then, everything changed. Jason had plunged deeper into the world of power. He remembered the lavish parties, the firm handshakes of ambitious men, the million-dollar deals sealed over quiet conversations. And slowly, Anna's presence in his life began to fade. Jason furrowed his brows. A name surfaced in his mind, Sophia. She appeared in his memories more and more. Their meetings, their discussions about the future, about power, about everything he could achieve if he chose her. And Anna had never belonged in that world. Jason had been swept away by ambition, and in that pursuit, he had lost the one woman he truly loved. And then, that moment, a dimly lit room, Anna standing before him, her eyes no longer filled with light. She had asked him one question. Jason, do you still love me? And what had he said? Nothing. Jason squeezed his eyes shut, his head pounding. He remembered his silence. He remembered the way he had turned his back on her, without a single word of explanation. He remembered the devastation on her face as she walked away, alone. After that night, Anna had lived through months of despair, and then she had left, taking her broken heart with her. Jason's chest ached. What had he done? How could he have hurt her this badly? The wounds in his soul, the ones he had buried for so long, were now raw and exposed. Jason's eyes flew open. He couldn't forgive himself. The more he remembered, the more unbearable the weight of his mistakes became. He had thrown away the only real love he had ever known, for power. Jason clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. His hands trembled from the storm of emotions consuming him. How could I do this to her? How could I abandon her for a future that meant nothing? His voice was barely above a whisper, lost in the sound of rain falling outside the window. Was it too late? Or was there still a chance to make things right? Jason didn't know. But there was one thing he was certain of. He had to fix this. Anna might never forgive him. She might never come back. But regret would not change the past. Jason could, however, change the present. And if he truly wanted to make things right, he had to act. Step 1. End the engagement with Sophia. It didn't matter that his family would be outraged. It didn't matter that his status and wealth might suffer. It didn't even matter that he would have to face Sophia's fury. Jason refused to live a lie any longer. That night he went to the Morgan estate. Sophia was lounging in the grand living room, seated on an elegant leather chair, a glass of red wine in her hand. When she saw Jason enter, she narrowed her eyes with suspicion. "Jason, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice laced with amusement as she set her glass down on the glass table. She crossed her legs in a way that exuded confidence. False confidence. Jason didn't waver. He knew exactly who Sophia was, not a woman who loved him, but a woman who refused to lose what she thought she owned. Taking a deep breath, he spoke firmly. "Sophia, I need to talk to you." Sophia smirked. "About what? If you're here to apologize for disappearing the last few days, don't bother. We're engaged, Jason. You just need to fall back into place." Jason squared his shoulders, his voice unwavering. "I want to end our engagement." Silence. A sharp, suffocating silence. Sophia froze as if she had misheard him. But within seconds, shock turned into rage. "What?" she shrieked, nearly knocking over her wine glass. Jason didn't blink. I can't live this lie anymore. I've made my decision. Sophia shot up from her seat, marching straight toward him, her face twisted with fury. You can't do this, she hissed, her hands clenched into fists. You can't throw everything away over a pathetic girl like Anna. What does she have that I don't? Jason met her gaze without hesitation. Everything. Sophia's breath hitched, but before she could speak, Jason continued, his voice unwavering. She has a heart. She doesn't need power or wealth to be happy. She loved me for who I was, not because of the Whitmore name or the numbers in my bank account. Sophia gritted her teeth, her eyes burning with anger. You love her that much? She spat. Jason didn't hesitate. I love her more than anything. Sophia's lips curled into a sneer, but her next words hit him like a slap. Then why did you leave her in the first place? Jason stilled. He knew she was right. He had betrayed Anna, but he wouldn't make that mistake again. Looking straight into Sophia's furious eyes, Jason's voice was steady. I'll do whatever it takes to prove to her that I deserve her. Sophia stared at him, seething, but Jason didn't care anymore. The engagement was over. He had walked away from the world he once thought he belonged to. Now there was only one thing that mattered, Anna, and he would do whatever it took to make her believe in him again. After breaking off his engagement with Sophia, Jason didn't immediately seek out Anna. Instead, he quietly observed her struggles and worked in the shadows to help her. Jason investigated and discovered that a rival competitor had been trying to sabotage Anna's business. Using his connections in the jewelry industry, he exposed the unethical tactics being used to tarnish her reputation, ensuring that her name remained untarnished. But he never told her. Anna only noticed that her problems mysteriously disappeared. A valuable shipment of Anna's jewelry had gone missing in transit, causing her to suffer a devastating financial loss. Jason discreetly tracked down those responsible, repurchased the entire stolen inventory, and had it anonymously returned to her. When Anna received the package, she was stunned, but she had no idea who had done it. Anonymous threats had been sent to her shop, pressuring her to leave the market. Jason secretly hired security to watch over her from a distance, without her knowledge. One evening, as Anna was walking home, a stranger approached her with malicious intent. Before he could act, someone stopped him. The man fled in fear, leaving Anna shaken but unharmed. She never knew Jason had orchestrated the intervention. A competing jewelry store had been spreading false rumors about Anna, attempting to drive her out of business. Jason bought out the store and shut it down. When Anna heard the news, she was baffled. She couldn't understand why the rival shop had suddenly closed overnight. One night, Anna had a high fever, but still forced herself to work. She collapsed alone in her shop with no one around to help. By morning, she woke up in her own bed, wrapped in warm blankets, a cup of ginger tea and medicine placed neatly beside her. Nobody told her who had taken care of her, but deep down, something felt strangely familiar. Anna had once dreamed of expanding her shop into a recognized jewelry brand, but endless setbacks had forced her to put that dream aside. Jason arranged for her to be invited to a prestigious jewelry exhibition where elite designers showcased their work. Yet when she received the invitation, Jason's name was nowhere to be found. One late evening, as Anna stepped out of her shop, she came face to face with Jason. She had heard the rumors. She knew someone had been helping her. And now, looking into Jason's unwavering gaze, she had her answer. Her expression remained cold, but a flicker of uncertainty crossed her eyes. Jason, why are you doing all of this? She asked, her voice quiet but filled with suspicion. Jason didn't look away. He didn't offer empty words. He didn't beg for forgiveness. He simply said, his voice low and sincere, I'm just making amends for the mistakes I've caused you. Not because he expected her to forgive him, not because he wanted anything in return, but because this was the only thing he could do for her now. You don't have to do this, Anna whispered, but her heart wavered. Had he truly changed? Just when Jason thought he was finally making things right, another storm arrived. Sophia came back. Her return threw everything into chaos again. She refused to accept defeat. She couldn't stand the thought of Jason leaving her and returning to Anna. To Sophia, Anna had always been the intruder, a woman unworthy of Jason. someone he should have forgotten the moment he entered the world of the elite. Sophia was not alone. She had power, influence, and connections that could destroy anyone who stood against her. She went straight to Jason's parents. "Your son is ruining your family for a worthless woman. Do you have any idea what will happen if he walks away from me?" Jason's parents were shaken. They had remained silent when Jason called off the engagement, but now Sophia had pulled them into the battle. Their family name would be tarnished. Their business connections would crumble. Jason was immediately summoned to the family estate for a confrontation. Jason's father glared at him, his voice cold and filled with disappointment. "What the hell are you doing, Jason? Why would you throw away a perfect marriage? Do you not care about this family?" His mother sighed, trying to remain calm. "Jason, darling, this isn't just about you. This is about our legacy. You can't let your emotions destroy everything we've built." Jason felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. He had known this moment would come, but it didn't end there. The doors swung open. Sophia stepped in, her expression smug. "Did you really think you could escape me, Jason?" she asked smoothly. Jason didn't answer. He just looked at her, his eyes cold. Sophia, however, wasn't fazed. She walked forward, arms crossed, her lips curving into a wicked smirk. "You have two choices. One, you come back to me and continue the life you originally chose. Or two," she leaned closer, "I destroy your entire family." Jason clenched his fists. "You're threatening me?" Sophia shrugged, her voice sweet but razor sharp. "No, Jason, I'm simply stating facts. Do you know where your family's investments are? Are you sure everything they've done is legal? Are you certain that if I expose certain secrets, none of them will pay the price?" A cold chill ran down Jason's spine. Sophia knew something that could destroy his family. If he defied her, his entire legacy could crumble. Everything he had built could be wiped out in an instant. But looking back at his life, all he saw was emptiness. Since when had he allowed himself to be manipulated by power and greed? If he went back to Sophia, he would lose Anna forever. If he walked away from everything, he would lose his family and the future he had once built. The war within him raged, but this time, Jason was no longer the same ruthless, ambitious man. He was tired of living a lie. He refused to lose Anna again. Sophia's threats, his family's pressure, the risk of losing wealth and status. Everything cornered Jason. But when he thought of Anna's wounded eyes, her cold words, her broken trust, he knew. This time he had no other choice. Not because he was being forced, but because he refused to live in a world of deception anymore. Love couldn't be bought with money. Love wasn't a business deal between the powerful. Love required honesty, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment, and Jason was ready to risk everything. Jason returned to the Whitmore estate one last time. His parents were waiting. Sophia was there too, arms crossed, her usual smug confidence intact, as if she already knew she had won. His father's voice was cold. "Well, have you come to your senses?" Sophia smirked. "Jason, you can't throw everything away for someone beneath you." Jason met their eyes, his voice steady. "I've thought about it long enough. I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. I don't need the money, the power, or the status." Silence, a heavy, suffocating silence. His mother's mouth fell open in shock. His father rose from his chair, his expression livid. Sophia's fist tightened, her eyes blazing with fury. "Jason, have you lost your mind?" his father roared. "Do you even realize what you're doing? You're going to lose everything." But Jason didn't waver. "All these years, I lived a life I thought was meaningful. But I was wrong. I gave up the most important thing in my life in exchange for an empty existence of wealth and power." Sophia's voice was sharp with venom. "Then why did you betray her in the first place?" Jason didn't have an excuse, because she was right. He had once chosen wrong, but this time he wouldn't repeat the same mistake. He turned to Sophia, his voice calm. "I can't justify what I did to Anna, but I can choose to be better now." Sophia's hands trembled with rage. "You'll regret this, Jason." Jason gave her a cold, unreadable smile. No, Sophia. He stepped past her. My only regret is that I didn't do this sooner. Jason signed away all his rights in the company. He withdrew from major investments, relinquished his shares, and walked away from power. He packed his belongings and left behind the lavish penthouse he once called home. He was no longer the CEO of a major corporation, no longer a man revered and feared by the elite. Now he was just a man, but one with a heart full of love and determination. Now he had nothing, except a chance to make things right. As he stepped out of the estate, out of the world he once belonged to, Jason felt no regret, because at last he had chosen the right path. And now there was only one thing that mattered, proving to Anna that he had truly changed. Jason had given up everything, power, status, wealth. All he had left was himself. And the one love he lost, the moment of truth. Jason stepped into the jewelry shop. Anna was carefully setting gemstones under the warm glow of the lights. She looked up, and for a moment, their eyes met. Time stood still. Anna already knew what had happened. The entire elite society had been buzzing with the news of Jason calling off his engagement to Sophia. Word had spread about his resignation as CEO. But the thing that shocked her most, he had walked away from the very power he once chased with his whole heart. Jason met her gaze, his eyes filled with sincerity and regret. The cold, distant man she once knew was gone. This was not the Jason who had abandoned her. This was a man stripped of everything, standing before her with only one thing left: love. Stepping closer, Jason's voice was warm, steady, but trembling ever so slightly. I'm asking for one chance to prove to you, to love you again, from the beginning. Anna's heart trembled. She had tried not to pay attention to the news about him, but how could she ignore it? He had truly changed. He had walked away from everything that once made him lose her. He had chosen her over power, over wealth, and deep in her heart, she knew she had never stopped loving him. But was it really that simple? Could one apology, one act of sacrifice erase all the pain he caused? Numbers she couldn't forgive so easily, but she could give him a chance. Taking a deep breath, she finally spoke. You want to love me again? Her voice was calm but uncertain. Fine, but you'll have to win me over, just like the first time. Jason was stunned. She wasn't rejecting him, but she wasn't making it easy. She was giving him a chance, but he had to earn it. We can't erase the past, Jason. Her voice was steady, but he could hear the hesitation in it. But if you truly want me, then make me fall in love with you again. Jason couldn't stop the small, genuine smile from forming. She was still the same Anna, strong, independent, unwilling to break so easily. This wasn't forgiveness, but it was a chance, and Jason wasn't going to waste it. I'll make this chance count, he whispered, his eyes filled with determination. And this time, he would love her with everything he had. 1 year later, the morning sun filtered through the glass windows of a small jewelry boutique on a peaceful street. Gone were the cold skyscrapers, the lavish parties, and the ruthless pursuit of power. Now Jason and Anna's life was simple, but filled with happiness. The jewelry shop was no longer just Anna's dream. It was their dream, a symbol of a love that had been lost but found again. No million-dollar deals, no contracts built on ambition, just delicate gemstones, carefully crafted by Anna's hands. Jason and Anna, two hearts, finally healing. Jason stood beside Anna, his fingers intertwined with hers. He felt the warmth he had once lost, but finally found again. He looked around at the shop, once just a piece of Anna's past, now a part of his future too. He was no longer a CEO, no longer a man driven by status and greed. He was simply a man who had learned how to love again. Jason finally understood. Love is not just about a perfect beginning. It's a journey, a path filled with mistakes, heartbreak, and struggles. But the most important thing, he was walking it with her. Anna picked up a small ring, handing it to Jason. What do you think? She asked, her eyes shining under the warm shop lights. Jason turned the ring in his fingers, smiling softly. It's beautiful, but not as beautiful as her smile. Not as beautiful as the moment she chose to give him a chance. Anna met his gaze and whispered, "We made it through everything, didn't we?" Jason squeezed her hand gently, nodding. "Yes, and I'll never let you suffer alone again." They didn't need anything else, because they had each other. Second chances exist, but you have to be willing to fight for them. Love cannot be bought with wealth. It can only be earned with sincerity and sacrifice. Sometimes happiness isn't found in power or prestige, but simply in being with the one you love. And Jason had finally learned that, even if it took him far too long. The story of Jason and Anna is a reminder: true love can survive anything, but only if you're willing to fight for it. Thank you for following this heartfelt story of Soul Stories channel. Share your thoughts about the story in the comments below. If you believe that true love can withstand all trials and sometimes begins in the simplest of ways, don't forget to hit the like button and share this story with your friends. To never miss out on touching and meaningful stories, subscribe to our channel and help us spread messages of love and warmth to everyone. Now, let's cherish the beautiful moments of life and love together.